Hideout and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're back in Innistrad and, well, there's a couple of trees that have been looking at me a bit funny. One of them being Kurbis. Sounds a bit like Kirby, the big pink ball that absorbs things. The Harvest Celebrant. Double green and X for a 0/0 tree folk. It enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it, which is really cool because usually Hydras only get counters for the X, but that double green will also add counters. So we can play this for double green and we just get a 2/2 for 2. Pretty goddamn good. I like that scaling, allows us to have a rather large commander. Then remove a 1/1 counter from Kurbis to prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn to another target creature with a 1/1 counter on it, which is really nice. Nice bit of protection, you know. Yes, it doesn't save us from board wipes, but it will save us from like all sorts of damage-based board wipes, things like Blasphemous Act. You know, can't save itself, but hey ho, we can always recast it as a 2/2 and, you know, just keep distributing those counters around. So really quite a cool, different take on the Hydra Commander. I quite like this card. You know, it's interesting. Best thing since wrestling. No, I'm not going to start rapping. Waiting for my debut album in 2022, though. Incredible stuff. You know what else is incredible? Subscribing to my channel. What a transition. I'm not going to be rapping anymore, though. So maybe if you want to subscribe for rapping, don't go for this. But we're going to do a video like this for every single legendary creature. And it's going to be fun. We're all going to have a great time. So come and join me. And without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5 for Kurbis. And in at number 5, well, he's a tree folk. Let's have a couple of different tree folks. Let's go down that sort of tribal direction. And a lot of this deck, we're going to be putting 1/1 counts on things because Kurbis cares about that. And Woodfall Primus is a phenomenal card to be doing that for. 8 mana 6/6 trampling tree folk. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-creature permanent. That's lands, enchantments, artifacts. Green is great at destroying those things. And it has persist. So when this creature dies, if I had no -1/-1 counters on it, returns to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. Then, if we've got a couple of ways to put counters on it when it enters the battlefield, well, that -1/-1 counter cancels itself out, and then it comes in without it, and then it can die again, get the -1/-, and just so on and so forth. Potentially, you could set up an infinite combo where every time it comes in, it gets a +1/+1 counter. We sacrifice it, it comes back, and we just destroy all non-land. No, all lands, just all permanents that aren't creatures. Ha ha ha, we've won the game. So really quite a cool include there. And then here are another couple of great tree folks. The Harbinger, 1 mana for a 0/3. When it comes into play, you may search your library for a tree folk or forest card. Reel it, shuffle your library, put that card on top of it. So excellent for getting any of these cards. And, you know, if you're stuck on lands, this card is also phenomenal. Then we've got the Dauntless Dowerback. He's got a back as well, hasn't he? 4 mana for a star. It's power and toughness each equal to the number of forests you control plus the number of tree folk you control. So we're mono green. We're going to be playing a lot of forests. Yes, a couple of utility lands, but the majority of the mana base will be forests. So this could be a 4 mana 10/10 potentially. And it has trample as long as you control another tree folk. So our commander is indeed a tree folk. The sad thing about this is it's not 1/1 counters, it's just a variable power and toughness. But, you know, as I said, there's a couple of ways we can put counters onto things. Then there's Root Grapple, 5 mana for an instant, tribal. It's tree folk. This is a tree folk. It's a spell tree folk. Draw a target non-creature permanent. If you control tree folk, draw a card. Excellent bit of card advantage. In our commander, we want to keep it on the field as much as possible. We're going to be recasting if it dies, you know, just getting a big dude anyway. So this draws us a card and just destroys a problem permanent. Then we've got Lumberknot, 4 mana for a 1/1 tree folk with Hexproof, so our opponents can't target it. Whenever a creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on Lumberknot. So that is a self-perpetuating way of getting counters onto one of our creatures. Aren't I fancy with my words and stuff? So that works brilliantly with our commander's ability. We can remove a counter from our commander. If we're sacking in with this, it's a 20/20 and a 1/1 death touch box it. Well, we can save it from destruction. Speaking of which, we've got Timber Protector. 5 mana 4/6 tree folk warrior. Other tree folk creature control get +1/+1. So our commander, even if we remove all the counters, will stay alive as a little 1/1, you know. Ooh, I'm coming for you. And then other tree folk and forests you control are indestructible. Actually, the forest being indestructible is quite cool with things like Nissa, you know, that can animate our lands, make them into 3/3s with counters on them. Oh, so another bit of synergy there. The Nissa who shakes the world. That's the one. So this card is just phenomenal with that, and it'll make our commander indestructible. So our little 1/1 can just keep chipping away there. Then there's Leaf Crowned Elder to finish with 4 mana for a 3/5. Tree Folk Shaman with Kinship. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it shares a creature type with Leaf Crowned Elder, you may reveal it. If you do, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. Cheating on mana cost is always incredibly powerful, so this card just works amazingly in this deck if you're going down the Tree Folk / Shaman tribal sort of direction. Very cool card. Which brings me on to my number 4 pick. And at number 4, there's ways to get counters onto our creatures just as they enter the battlefield. So Renata, Called to the Hunt, is a 4 mana star 3. Its power is equal to your devotion to green, so that's how many green pips. In my card here, I have 0 because I cost no mana. That's how cheap and terrible I am. But Renata already has 2 green pips. You know, our commander is 2 green pips. So Renata could potentially be massive. Each of the creatures you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. So absolutely everything comes in with an extra counter, our commander included. Really, really nice. This allows us to protect any creature we want if we've got counters on them. Really nice use of our commander's ability. Then there's the Great Henge, 9 mana for a legendary artifact. It costs X less to cast, for X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Tap to add double green, so a nice bit of ramp, and you gain 2 life. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it, right? And draw a card. Like, the drawing the card is, you know, the better bit, but it works so synergistically with our deck, so be sad not to include it. And that brings me on to the Bloodsport Thrinax. 4 mana 2/2 lizard. Now it's a snake. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes. Christ. Devour 1. As it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with that many 1/1 counters on it. Each of the creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on Bloodsport Thrinax. So if we've got the Great Henge and a couple of other Renata ways to get counters, we don't even have to sacrifice anything because it's got loads of 1/1 counters on it. This card is just an absolute house and will make everything into a massive threat. Then there's Metallic Mimic, 2 mana for a Shapeshifter, 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. So Tree Folk, as I was just discussing. It is also a tree folk in addition to its other types. Each of the creatures you control, so the chosen type, enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. So if you're going down that tribal sort of strategy, this card is great, especially building around the +1/+1 counter theme. Then there's Vastwood Fortification, a land on the other side. So, you know, it's a tapped land, yes. Oh dear, oh dear. But this is such a great little effect. 1 green for an instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Just you know, at the best possible moment, your opponent can think, haha, I'm going to deal lethal damage to this. And you go, blip, put a 1/1 counter on it. They're blown out. You remove a 1 counter from our commander, save it. It just, it's just a cool little trick. And because it's attached to a land, it's not really that big an opportunity cost to put it in. Then there's Primeval Bounty. 6 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. So that beast will also come in with a 1/1 counter with a couple of the things we've been talking about. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 1/1 counters on target creature you control. So Vastwood Fortifications would then add an additional 3 counters. The true power of a land. Then whenever a land enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. So not that impressive, but still a nice little effect to have. And then we've got Boreal Outrider. So I talked about having forests. Well, let's make them into snow-covered forests because, well, why not? There's no real downside. 3 mana for a 3/2 elf warrior. Whenever you cast a creature spell, if snow of any of that spell's colours was spent to cast it, that creature enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it. So if we just use a green snow mana to cast our creatures, well, we're going to get an extra 1/1 counter. So literally no negative that I can see. Which brings me on to number 3. I am going to record that rap album. I'm going to do it, and it's going to destroy the game. Or make the game better, I don't know. But here's another couple of great creatures that have 1/1 counters on it. And they're going to be quite big, because if we're protecting things from damage, well, I want to protect things that are big. Protecting my Sakura Tribe Elder with a 1/1 counter on it, I mean, that's cool and all. I like Sakura Tribe Elder, but I would rather protect something like a Lifeblood Hydra. Triple green and X, so it enters with X 1/1 counters on it. It's got trample, and when it dies, you gain life and draw cards equal to its power. So actually, you might want it to die. But this is a big threat that we can put a ton of mana in, get loads of counters on it, and we could save it in the middle of combat with our commander's ability. So this is a direction I was thinking of going. Then Ren's Run Hydra is a great way of, having a big threat, but then also potentially making anything into a threat. Green and X, so it enters with X 1/1 counters. It's got reach, so it just goes, ooh, and swats away some big flying monstrosity. Then Reinforce for X, so double green and X, discard this card, just like cycling, except you don't draw a card, to put X 1/1 counters on target creature, and that is at instant speed. So if one of our little idiots has got through and we've got 28 mana up, we pump 28 mana into making a 26 power dude, hurrah! Someone's now dead. This card is so versatile, and that ability is uncounterable unless you have like a stifle or something like that. So a great game-ending threat. Speaking of which, Primordial Hydra is just that. Double green and X for Hydra. 0/0, it comes in with X 1/1 counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of 1/1 counters on Primordial Hydra. So it just gets bigger again. Then it has trample as long as it has 10 or more 1/1 counters on it. And this is the sort of thing you really want to be protecting from like damage-based board wipes and in combat. Because if we're swinging in with a 9/9, does not have trample, they could be blocking with like an Ulamog, something like that. I'm not sure why you'd even make that attack, but you can do whatever you want. Then we can, remove a counter from Kurbis, make this not take damage. Hooray! And then there's Myriad Construct. 4 mana for a 4/4 with kicker for 3. If it's kicked, it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each non-basic land your opponents control. And we're playing Commander, so people are incredibly greedy. They like playing 5-color decks. There's going to be shock lands, fetch lands all over the place. And this is going to come in absolutely massive. And when it becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it and create a number of 1/1 color construct artifact creature tokens equal to its power. So say it's a 28/28, suddenly we got 28 1/1s. But with all of those things that we talked about where they come in with additional counters, well, we're going to be doubling all the powers we have there. Very, very powerful. Which brings me on to number 2. And on number 2, Shape of the Wittigo. I love this card. I've never actually got to cast it, but I just think it's such a cool card. This card, 6 mana for an aura. This is all about putting counters onto our creatures, and very, very specific creatures at that. Enchantment aura, enchant creature. It comes into play, puts 6 1/1 counters on enchanted creatures. So if this went onto our commander, straight away we've got an additional 6 counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 counter on enchanted creature if it attacked or blocked since your last upkeep. So if we're attacking him with our commander, we're going to keep growing or remove a 1/1 counter from it if you haven't. And look at the artwork. Just look at it. It's absolutely astonishing. It's so horrible. I just love it. It's just so cool. It's a card that works great in this deck. And here are another couple of ways that we can use the 1/1 counters and put 1/1 counters on things. Rishkar Pima Renegade, 3 mana for a 2/2. When it's the battlefield, puts a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So just spread them around. Those things that don't have counters on them, well, now they do. Then each creature you control with a counter on it taps for a green mana. So our commander can now be a mana dork. It's a mana hydra tree folk dork. Why do tree folks not make mana? Just as a baseline sort of thing. Why is it elves? I don't know. Anyway, then we've got Toonvale Tree Folk, so fitting with the Tree Folk sort of theme. 6 mana for 6/5. All right, it's not that great, but it has an Oaken Boon. 4 mana for a sorcery adventure, so you can cast it from exile if you've adventured. Put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. Again, not very good in the slightest, but it fits very well with the themes of this deck. So, I'd be willing to play it. And then we've got the Ranger class. 2 mana for a class. Don't know what happened to my mind. It just fell into mush. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 wolf creature token. So, that'll enter with some 1/1 counters. Then pay 2 whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. That's really good. Allows us to, swing in with something big. Maybe if it doesn't have a 1/1 counter, well, now it does. Then pay 4. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And that's really good in this deck. Green, we're going to be playing a lot of creature spells. A lot of the cards I've talked about are creatures, so we can just churn through the deck. Maybe have a couple of ways to play lands off the top, things like that. Really excellent card and puts counters all over the place. You big disgrace. In at number 1, we've got counters everywhere. Well, let's double them. It's Fractal Harness. 3 mana and X. Very interesting casting cost. Equipment. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token and put X 1/1 counters on it. Attach Fractal Harness to it. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on it. Equip for 2. So this is fantastic, not only because it makes a big threat, it makes a big 0/0 thing that can possibly kill our opponents, but we could put this onto our commander or any one of our big threats and then just start swinging and doubling up on the power. Really, really nice. Works great with our commander. And here, another couple of great ways of doubling counters. Colonial Hydra, 5 mana for a 0/0 with trample, enters the battlefield with 4 1/1 counters on it. Then, whenever it attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Unbelievable. Will just win you so many games. Then, there's the Biogenic Upgrade. 6 mana for a sorcery, distribute 3 1/1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures. Then, double the number of 1/1 counters on each of those creatures. So, a great way of just spreading the love. Putting counters all over the place, maybe all of them onto our commander and doubling everything. Really, really nice. And then there's Solidarity of Heroes. 2 mana for an instant with Strive. Spell costs 2 more to cast for each target beyond the first. Choose any number of target creatures, double the number of 1/1 counters on each of them. So this can be an absolute game-winning play if you've built up some massive threats. Well, they're even more massive now. Doubly so. And those are my top 5 cards for Kurbis. The lovable pink, green tree folk thing. Really, really cool card. Who doesn't love a Hydra dressed as a tree folk? Quite a few people probably, but within Magic, I think everybody does. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, subscribe. Tell me a bit about yourself. Nothing too personal. Let's not get too familiar. But let's see you soon. Bye.